Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream live on Twitch on Mondays and Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time in the United States. That's midday if you're in Australia, or around 1 or 2 a.m. if you're in the UK and Europe. I hope you guys and girls are doing well. Hellforge, it's always good to see you, the hype. I'm doing really good. I hope you are too. Remember guys, if you do miss the live streams, you can catch up at any time by clicking the videos tab on my Twitch channel. I upload all of my previous streams to Twitch, so they'll always be there. You can also catch the streams on my YouTube channel /PhilDoes3D, but the YouTube videos are a little behind the ones on Twitch because I have to keep my videos exclusive to Twitch for a certain period of time. Okay. Remember, if you do want to join the Discord server and become a Phildo, click the link Hellforge just popped into Twitch chat, or you can go to the About Me section on my Twitch channel and look for a blue graphic in my panels that says join the Discord server. That will give you an invite link to join the Discord. If you're watching me on YouTube, you'll find a link to my Twitch channel in the description below this video. Just click that, go to the About Me section and click the Discord graphic. We're going to continue working on a game called The House in the Hollow. You can wishlist that now on Steam. Again, go to the About Me section and look for the graphic that says wishlist the game. Or if you're on YouTube, look in the description below my video for a link to the Steam store page. And finally, if you do want to know more about me and what I do and who I am, you can go to my website, which is phildoes3d with a .com on the end. I think that's everything. Helpwood says, yeah, I'm doing all right. Nice to take a break from Maya right now. Oh, that user interface makes me want to flip a table. Oh, thank you. And Helpwood just popped the YouTube channel link in the Twitch chat as well. Oh, Maya. Yeah, look at, like I said, I'm a Max guy and I love Max, and I have played with Maya, but I don't find the interface quite as intuitive as Max's. Maybe I'm just used to Max, really. Once you get used to it, it's fine. But yeah, no, I prefer Max's interface, I have to say. Okay, so we're working on the main gate for the entry to the estate for the House in the Hollow. So we're going to finish that today, I guess. Remember, if you do have any questions, guys, while I'm working, feel free to pop into chat and ask. If I can help you in any way, I'm happy to try. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that is always welcome. But if all you want to do is watch, that's completely fine. I get that. I guess we'll jump straight into Max. So this is what we were working on yesterday, which is the main entryway for the estate grounds. That Bugatti car we were working on will be back here. So let's finish this off. Helpwood says it's mainly the destructive workflow in Maya that's the biggest headache, so I need to relearn how to do stuff. Some copy before I start. That sounds like a good suggestion, Helpwood. Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about Max's interface, because Max has that modifier stack, which is this thing over here. So it's non-destructive. You can turn the stack on and off. You can collapse the stack if you do want to, if you finished working on something and you don't want to go back and revise it. But the modifier stack in Max is a godsend, a real godsend. People tend to use the modifier stack if they, like, you don't generally have to do revisions. Like you guys know, when I save out a file, I save it as revision numbers. So revision 1, revision 2, revision 3. That's so I can easily go back in time. But with the Max modifier stack, you don't have to do that because you can always go back through the modifier stack. I still like to do it just to be on the safe side though, because you never know when a file might become corrupt or something, and all that work you put into making whatever you're making and you can't open the file, then that's bad. That's very bad. Oh, there we go. Copy boost to start the day. I've already had one copy before this, but anyway. Okay, so we need to continue. We're making these sections modular so that when we bring it into the engine, we can hardware instance the same meshes. So that's number one, and the same thing goes here for the columns, and for this will be one piece. And I'll probably attach that piece to this base, because I won't, I probably won't ever want to use the base without the wrought iron on top. So, hey Sniper Echo, it's good to see you, buddy. Hellford says, yeah, same in Blender, I'm learning so hard on it that not having it makes it a challenge to get anything done. Yeah, I wasn't aware that Blender actually had like a modifier stack. That's very cool, you know, because I haven't actually used Blender, but it's cool if you can go back and change your modifiers. Sniper says, Hellforge, hey, how are you? Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're making modular sections that we can then hardware instance in the Unreal Engine. And we're also reusing the textures that we've used on the gate for the wrought iron here. So we're reusing textures for multiple assets, and we're hardware instancing assets as well. So that basically means in the engine, if you hardware instance something, instead of it being instance on the CPU, which is like a software instance, it's actually instance on the GPU, which is much faster to access than the CPU. So it basically means the engine will read the mesh into memory once, and then it doesn't need to use any more memory to actually place the other columns, say. So it's just a really good optimization in Unreal. Unreal 4. Unreal 5, it's all different for that, and I haven't played with that engine yet, so we'll see how it goes when I start playing around with UE5 next year when Epic officially release it. Helford says to Sniper Echo, I'm doing alright overall. Could do with a cuppa though. How are you doing? So yeah, so that's the reason we're making this in like a modular style. So basically all we're going to be needing for the fence, regardless of how big we make it, is the tall column. Now I have a couple of options with the short column here. It's a duplicate of this one. I could probably just bring that into the Unreal Engine and scale it down, which is basically what we've done here in Max for this column. And then we can hardware instance all of these because they're the same mesh. Even though it's scaled differently, I'm pretty sure you can. There are some restrictions with hardware instancing in the engine. You can't non-uniformly scale and then hardware instance. So I couldn't say scale this taller instead of wider and then hardware instance. If it's scaled in all axes the same, then you can. If it's non-uniform scale, I believe you can't, or you never used to be able to unless Epic have changed that. So yeah, I probably will do that. I'll probably just bring the large column in. We'll scale it down to size for the fence line, and then we'll hardware instance all of them. But we'll tackle that when we jump into the engine and we start setting the scene up. We do need to do wrought iron here for these curve sections though, so let's do that, I guess. Sniper Echo says, wait, that's a thing? I wasn't aware of that. What weren't you aware of, Sniper Echo? The non-uniform scale thing? Is that what you mean? So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still a restriction on hardware instancing, not software but hardware, which means it's instance on the GPU, not the CPU. But yeah, non-uniform scale. Yeah, that was a restriction for hardware instancing. You could not non-uniform scale. Uniform scale is fine, like we've done here, but if I made it taller, then I couldn't hardware instance those two because it's a non-uniform scale. Again, that's the way it used to be. I haven't read anything from Epic Games that suggests that's changed. And again, this is for UE4, not UE5. I don't really know with Nanite. I haven't looked into it enough to see what's going on with Nanite. I have a feeling Nanite is sort of, Epic is handling it all in the background for you. It's not quite as hands-on as UE4, where you had to actually go in and do it by hand. I think once you tick that tick box on your mesh that says turn Nanite on, The engine handles it all in the background auto-magically for you. But again, I've not used UE5, so don't quote me. I'm not sure until I start playing with it. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to duplicate these pieces. Now I'm keeping them separate at this stage just until until we get this curved piece done, and then we can attach them all together. It just makes it easier for me to work if they're separate. So I'm holding down the shift key and max here and dragging to create a copy. Stop doing that. And it looks like I've forgotten one, so let's go back. I forgot that piece just there. There we go. And we're going to make a copy. If we make an instance, it'll change this one. We don't want that. Alright. Sniper Echo says, actually I think it's hierarchical instancing that's non-uniform scaling. I must test that out. Do, and let me know, because I was under the impression it was not just hierarchical instancing. But you could be right, it could be hierarchical instance static meshes, HISMs. You may be right there actually. But yeah, that was my understanding, was if it was non-uniform, it couldn't be hardware instanced. I've been working on so much other stuff with the game recently, I haven't really looked at the instancing side of things for a good 12 months probably. Okay, so now the problem I've got with this is, because this is a low poly mesh, if I try and put a bend modifier on this, pieces like these straight sections are not going to bend, and I'll show you what I mean. So if we just tried to bend it by using a bend modifier, we'll just go in a direction. Let me see here. You can sort of see what's happening here. The straight part of the mesh is not high poly enough to actually get a bend going. It's not bending, it's just moving. The middle part is fine, but that bar is just too low poly to get a bend happening. So we need to fix that. We can't bend it at the moment because it's just too low poly. Sniper Echo says, I'm pretty sure it is. I had to make a bunch of rocks once and I used it with random scale and rotation to instance 10,000 rocks in the scene. But I'll confirm and let you know, yeah, do. You could be right. I may be thinking of HISMs, hierarchical instance static meshes. Yeah, so that could be correct. Smurf, hey Smurfberry! That's a lot of rocks, Smurf says. Sure is a lot of rocks. 10,000 rocks. Wow. You certainly want a hardware instance that many rocks. So yeah, we can't work with it as it is because it's too low poly. We need to add more to the geometry to get a bend happening. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm just going to detach certain parts of this mesh. So that. So the bits that I don't need to, that are high poly enough that I don't have to worry about the bend, I'm going to remove from the group. Like the bend modifier in Max is a godsend. I use it all the time when I'm making stuff. So we just have that, and again these bars will be too low poly, they'll need to be adjusted. So we're going to detach that middle piece. I'm going to do the same on this one here. Make sure we've got them all. So again, I'm just going to double check to make sure that's correct. And this one, it looks like I may have missed a couple, so let's just fix that up. So we want that. We want to detach. And I'm just going to reattach those pieces, if I can find them. They are here somewhere. Those ones and that one. I'm just going to isolate these two pieces to make it easier for me to attach them together. Okay. Alright, so all the other pieces should be high poly enough. That's a separate piece now, that's a separate piece, and that's a separate piece. Whoops, I don't want to move it. Oh, looks like I've forgotten those ones up there as well. Alright, let's fix that up. So detach. Select. Select. Isolate. And attach. Sniper Girl! Hey Sniper Girl, it's good to see you. Smurf says you're low poly. Sniper Girl says the Smurf very odd way to say he's old. I'm doing really good, I hope you are. Android Lust, hey Android Lust, it's good to see you as well. So, we're detaching pieces here so we can actually create the bend section of the wrought iron. So we've got that piece, and this piece. Now we are, like I said, we're going to have to make this piece of wrought iron slightly higher poly than this piece because we need to put a bend in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this piece at the bottom, and I'm just going to throw down a quadify mesh modifier, and I'll go to a quad size of 2. The same with this one. Again, I'm going to do a quadify mesh to a size of 2. And this one here as well. Okay. Now we can attach all these pieces together, so let's do that. That one, 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 and that one. Good. Now we're going to reset the pivot. And throw down a reset on the X-form. And collapse the stack. So far so good. Sniper Girl says I'm good. I ended up taking the day off. I wasn't 100% feeling much better because yeah, Sniper Girl got food poisoning. So she wasn't too well yesterday, which is not good. But I'm glad you're feeling better. And yeah, take the day off just to make sure that you're back to 100% before you start stressing your body after putting it through that sort of ordeal. Sniper Girl says to Hellforge, how's the local Hellmaster now? Andrew Dust says, internet is messing up. Hopefully it'll be fixed Friday. Oh no! No, potato internet's bad. I know. Actually, I was actually concerned because I had another notice from my internet provider saying, this was a couple of days ago, saying that my internet would be down on November 30th, and I was going to lose internet between 7 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. But they sent me a message this morning saying they've cancelled that's scheduled maintenance, they call it, on the network, so it's all good now. But yeah, I'm getting really sick of these scheduled maintenance things. Like, they generally try and do it after midnight, between midnight and 6 a.m. But occasionally they'll do one during the day, and I don't know about you guys, but I use my internet for work and I can't have it go down during the day. And of course I stream with it as well, so if it goes down I can't stream. But anyway, that's been cancelled. I don't know why they've cancelled it. I don't know what the whole thing was about. But that sucks about your internet, Android Last. Yeah, Sniper Girl says, bad neck sucks. It does. Andrew Dust says, to be honest, it's been messed up for like a month. Oh no, but I finally decided to call about it today. So you've had bad internet for a month, and it's taken you you put up with it for a month. I can't talk. That plumbing, you know the plumbing that I had done but a month or two ago, I told you guys about it. I couldn't stream because my kitchen flooded, all that sort of jazz. That was for the hot water system, and they replaced like a temperature valve in it. So I spent like a good 2 or 3 months having showers that were lukewarm before I actually got off my ass, called up and said, come and fix it. So I really can't talk. Sniper Girl says to Android Lust, oh my god, a full month, that sucks. Sniper Rico is saying hi to Android Lust. Hellport says potato internet is bad. It is. I live in Australia, and before the NBN, my internet was like a rotten potato. It wasn't just potato internet, it was a rotten potato internet. It was terrible. Because we only had ADSL. I don't know if you guys remember ADSL. Probably not. That's one of those, technologies that's not used anymore because everyone's gone to fibre now. But yeah, ADSL, terrible. But I remember the dial-up modem days, with the beep, beep, beeps and the phone that you used to put down. That's how old I am. So you don't know potato internet till you've used a dial-up modem. Helpboy says potato internet is bad unless you're an island, at which point it's great. Hey, we love potatoes. I do like potatoes, one of my favourite vegetables. Baked and mashed and yeah, love potato. Sniper Girl says 2 to 3 months because you didn't call to get it fixed. Well, I know, I was busy and I was lazy, and I put up with lukewarm showers for 2 to 3 months before I got off my ass and actually called up the plumber and said, come and fix it for me. I know, it was terrible. I'm lazy. Terrible. Bad Phil. Anyway, it's all fixed now. Well, yeah, it's fixed now after the thing leaking. But that's all good now as well. Okay, so actually before I put the bend modifier down, I'm going to just move this piece over to where we need it, because I'm not even sure whether it's going to fit correctly yet. And we must get it in the right axes. Now, what I'm going to have to do here is, because it's going to bend that way, and that's not what we want. Again, I use the bend modifier a lot when I'm modeling because you can come up with some really interesting designs just using the bend modifier, but that's not what we want here. So I'm going to go to the gizmo and rotate the gizmo. That's better. Let's rotate it in the other direction though. And you see now we're getting a proper bend happening. We're not getting that issue we had with the straight bars. So let's go into the top viewport and rotate the mesh. I'm going to turn angle snap off here because I need a bit more control. Now again, the piece is a little bit too big for this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it. How do I want to scale this? You might scale it in the local axes. Yeah, actually what I'm going to do, because it's curved, and trying to do a scale on a curve is always difficult. So I'm just going to temporarily, and again this is a modifier stack and max, turn off the bend so that I can do the scale with a bit more control. Now I don't want to scale it down this way because I want it to stay the same height as this one. We just need to make it a little bit less wide. So again, I'm working in the local axes here, and I'm just going to scale it in. And then we can turn the multiplier back on again. Let's reduce the bend. Move it over a little bit. It's still just a little bit too wide, so again I'm going to turn the bend off. Go back to my scale and bring it in just a little bit more. I think it still might be just a little big. Let's move it over. Reduce the bend a bit more. Rotate the mesh a bit more. I have a feeling now I may have made it a bit too small, so let's scale it up just a little bit more. Still just a little bit too small, so scale it up a little bit more. Sniper Echo says, son of a bee. What's wrong, Sniper Echo? What's going on? Android Love says, well, since I haven't played internet games in a while, it wasn't a huge problem. It messed up during streams, but I was okay with that. Sniper Echo says to Hellforge, only a true friend would say that. Alford says, I remember trying to play original Counter-Strike and Rainbow Six multiplayer with a dial-up modem. Oh, really? I thought I was the only one that was that old. And my mum yelled at me because she needed to use the phone. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember the dial-up modems and the old bulletin boards, which was way before the internet. Because, you know, I was around at the time of Noah, as Sniper Girl is fond of telling me. Let's add a bit more bend to it now that we've made it a little bit larger, and let's rotate it around just a touch. And move it over just a bit. Andrew Dodd says, I would say it feels like dial-up, but I can't watch it in any resolution. It just soft disconnects about every 1 to 2 minutes. Oh no. Remember, if you really have bad internet, you can watch Twitch streams if you've got an Android phone or an Apple phone, an iOS phone. If you use the Twitch app, there is an option just for audio, so you can't get it. So if your internet's that bad that you can't get a picture properly, you can at least listen to streams by turning on the audio only mode. And that's only on the app though, the Twitch app. We need just to increase the bend just a little bit more. And rotate it a little bit more. Now I've made it too big. I can't. Oh, wow. Let's just reduce the size a bit again. I went from one extreme to the other. We're just going to pull it in just a little. Turn the bend back on. Still just a little bit too big. That should be okay. Yeah, that should be okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't intersecting the wall here with these curved pieces. And we look good. Okay. Might just rotate it just ever so little bit more. There we go. Now I think we're good. So again, even though we had to scale it in, the player is not going to notice that. They all are going to look pretty much the same. Alright, now that we've done that, I guess we can attach these pieces together, because we don't need to create any more pieces of wrought iron. So let's do that. I'll do it from this side so I don't accidentally select something I shouldn't. So let's attach. And that should be everything. Again, we're just going to reset the pivot and reset the X form and collapse the stack. Good. Let's do a save as a revision. So this will be revision 2. Healthwood says, wow, I got wrecked when Phil calls me old. Not as old as me, it's okay. I'm the oldest one here. I shouldn't say that because I don't know the age of all of my viewers, so there could be someone watching that's older than me. Make It 3D. Thank you for following the channel and welcome to Phil Does 3D. Make It 3D. I'm assuming maybe you're maybe a Twitch streamer or maybe not. If you are, let me know. And if you do stream, tell us in the chat what times you stream and we'll check you out. But welcome to Phil Does 3D, Make It 3D. I stream every Monday and Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time in the United States. My schedule never changes. Remember, Make It 3D too. If you do want to join the Discord server, click that link that Nightbot popped into Twitch chat. Thank you, Nightbot. Because there's a section there, a gallery section where you can show off your work. There's a portfolios section where you can link to your art station or your folio, art help and advice, tools and scripts. There's a lot of different sections on the Discord server that are really useful if you're an art person or a 3D person. And if you want to wishlist the game that you see me working on the assets for here, you can click that link Hellforge popped into Twitch chat to wishlist it on Steam. Hellforge says it takes one to know one, I guess. You're talking about the age thing. Hellforge says, do you need existing geometry to make the bend happen, or does the modifier add enough geo where needed? No, the modifier that I use, the quantify mesh, adds the geometry where needed. So you just have to add the quantify mesh modifier and it will take care of it all for you auto-magically. That's max, of course, if you're using max. I mean, there are other ways you could do it, like there are things like turbo smooth and tessellate and mesh smooth, but they tend to actually affect the geometry shape of the mesh, so whereas the quantify mesh doesn't affect the overall shape of the mesh. I mean, there are things like if you're using turbo smooth, you can make it work on polys as opposed to tris, which will retain most of the shape, but quantify mesh is a better one to use in this instance anyway. Sniper Girl says, how dare you scale it down? I notice. You don't notice, don't you? Tell me you notice. If you're playing this game, you're not going to notice. You will not notice. I guarantee you, people that haven't seen me make it, when they're running around the fence line here, are not going to notice. People are very, very unobservant. I don't know if you guys are aware of this or how observant you are. I tend to be a bit more observant simply because I do 3D, so I look at things a bit more closely because I have to reproduce them artificially in 3D. But most people are very, very unobservant. We were speaking about this when we were making the building, when we were texturing up the railings, because we reused the same texture on all of the railings throughout the building inside. And I said then people won't notice that we've reused the same texture. And we did that for performance. Healthwood says, and copy while saving. Yes, let's just do another save so I can have another copy. But this one saves out quickly because it's a low poly version, not the high. No 5 gigabyte save files for this one. Which is going to be really interesting, when Unreal Engine 5 is released. Because the big selling point for UE5 is you can bring your super high billion polygon meshes into the engine and the engine can handle it without a problem. Which is really cool, but it's going to make file sizes huge. Huge! I hate to think how big game downloads are going to become once UE5 really takes hold. Now I know Epic are working on a compression, and it'll depend, I guess, on how good the compression is. But it's still, game sizes are going to start to blow out. They really will. If studios don't optimize properly, which they probably won't, because most studios are under tight deadlines, and why optimize if you don't have to? But I would still recommend studios optimize their stuff. But you know what companies are like. You know what Rockstar are like. They don't do very good optimization work on their games when they port them. I mean, I love their games, don't get me wrong, but yeah, their optimization sucks. Helpwood says, alright, I wasn't sure. I've never gotten a bend tool thing to actually work that doesn't deform the mesh in weird ways. If it's deforming the mesh, it's because there aren't enough polygons for the bend modifier to work with, not enough vertices. So that's what the quadruply mesh will fix for you. It will increase the poly count though, do be aware of that. You can't get a proper bend unless you increase the polys, or the tries, or whatever it is you're working in. Helpwood says, I go out of my way to look at stuff from a 3D artist. Yeah, but if you guys that watch me and you guys that do 3D, or even just if you're an artist in general, you're a lot more observant than most people are. We pay attention to these things, so we are much more observant than the average Joe. Most people aren't though. If they're not in the field of work, or they don't do it for a living, or or it doesn't interest them, people won't notice. They don't pick up on things. Thank God, because it allows us to do things that save time, like reusing textures and stuff. People don't notice. Sniper Girl says the same. Helpwood says no 5 gigabyte save files. Brah, gotta get that files file. Yeah, well, the high-res meshes we were using for these fence pieces, the photogrammetry stuff. It wasn't photogrammetry; it's laser scan. Yeah, that just the column, that piece, and the straight piece were coming out to like that was 38 million polygons, and it was I can show you. It's like nearly a 5 gigabyte save file. If we go into UE4. Into the models, and we go to the gate fence. This is the high poly version. Let me just move this. Actually, let's go to properties. That'll be. Look, 4.76 gigabytes is the file size. And that's just with, 4 pieces of fence, but they're high poly fence. 4.76 gigabytes. So they're quite big. Which is why it took Max a little while to save it out. So yeah, I'm just trying to extrapolate as to how big the games are going to get if studios just start importing these super high million polygon meshes into Unreal. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting. But again, I know that Epic are working on compression. So they compress. They already do. There is already compression in UE5 on these multi-million poly meshes when they're saved out to disk. But still, unless they can get their compression super efficient and good, game file sizes are going to start to blow out. Smurf says AAA games are already 70 to 180 gigabytes. Well, that's right. I mean, that's just with current technology, not this next gen technology that Epic are using in Unreal 5. So yeah, it's going to be. I hate to think. Are we going to have to go back to the days of you can't download anything? You're going to have to buy it on a disc because downloading it's going to take you like a week. Let's hope not, unless you've got super fast internet. A Sniper Girl says, God, Rockstar. Pardon me. Sniper Echo says, currently that's not working so well. I've recently tested a 14K cube and it causes random artifacts to happen. Oh, really? Well, that's interesting. But do remember that the Unreal Engine is in release preview or whatever they call it at the moment, so it's beta software. I'm sure that Epic will fix it eventually. Let's hope so anyway. But that's why I haven't installed UE5, because it's still a work in progress and I don't want to be a beta tester for Epic. Sorry, Epic. Do a proper release and then I'll download it and I'll play with it and I'll file any bug reports I come across. But not till then. Sniper says UE5, that is, yeah, so that's interesting. So it's getting random artifacts, okay. Well, I'm sure that they will fix it. They put too much promotion and marketing into UE5 to not fix it. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward to the next generation of games because they're going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing. If what Epic say turns out to be true, where it's unlimited polygon counts, unlimited draw calls, it is just going to be truly amazing. Because remember, you've got chaos and chaos physics and stuff as well, which is all new in the Unreal Engine, destruction. It's going to be incredible. Future games are going to be incredible. I mean, they're going to be a lot more work to make, but they're going to be incredible. I think that's what people forget sometimes too with game studios. As technology progresses and the engines and the software gets better, which means we can throw more at the game, more polygons, more textures, more whatever. All of that creates a lot more work for the developer. It's not, yeah, the more graphically impressive a game is, the more work the developer has to do. So the longer the game takes to make, unless they throw more people at the problem. Throwing more people at a problem, it doesn't usually work anyway. It's not an efficient way to make a game quicker by throwing more people at it. Helpwood says, yeah, game sizes nowadays are crazy large and they probably won't go down either. I don't think they will, no. Again, that's why the other thing that's going to be really interesting to watch in the future is game streaming, like GeForce Now and Stadia and all of those game streaming services, because that will mean that you don't have to download the game, number one. It'll also mean you don't have to buy a graphics card, number two, because we know how hard they are to buy at the moment and how expensive they are. So it's going to be interesting in the next few years to see what happens with PC gaming, whether people move to streaming or not. I don't want to do that. I like having my own hardware in my own home. I like having my own graphics card. But I don't know, it might be a cheaper way for people to play. It might be better too if we start getting games that are turning into, I don't know, 500 gigabyte downloads or something. Helpwood says, I hate to think, Phil, 2021. Helpwood says, considering how much my head hurts when I think, I can relate to this. Sniper Echo says, it's okay, Phil. I've filled over 140 bug reports so far. I've got you covered. Oh, you're doing the work for me. Good to hear, Sniper Echo. Well, look, it's important if you are using the Unreal Engine 5 in this release preview that they call it. that if you do come across a bug, you do file a bug report for Epic Games so that they do know that there's a problem and they'll fix it. If I find it really funny, and this is turning into a Just Chat stream, I find it really funny that people constantly complain on the Epic Games forums about something being broken or something not working, but these people don't bother to fill in a bug report and tell Epic exactly what caused the issue. It's like they just like to bitch about a problem and not help people fix it. So I really feel for Epic Games and their software development people, because they get a lot of people bitching in the forums, and they can't fix something if they don't know about it. Just bitching about it doesn't help. You've got to fill in those bug reports and submit them to Epic Games. That's what the whole thing is for. Particularly if you're using their early access UE5. So I'm glad you got us covered, Sniper Echo. Android Dust says, phew, nice. Smurf says, related to mesh sizes for that planet generator that I'm working on. I tested some really high subdivision levels for the icosahedron. 0.56 billion verts, 1.1 billion triangles. Well, that's a lot of tries. And the vertex array and the triangle array in RAM were 12.6 gigabytes each. Wow. That's a lot of gigabytes, but that's a lot of triangles as well. Over 1 billion triangles. Sniper Echo says, nice. Smurfberry says, so the mesh was 25 gigabytes. And this is what they are. Like I said, just those 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of fence here. The high poly versions, that's 5 gigabyte file. That's about 38 million polygons total. And you know, with the game that we've been making, The House on the Hollow, just how many assets are in that game. I mean, there's a lot of assets. And if we were working with super high poly models for all of those assets, the file size would just be enormous. No wonder they want you to install UE5 games on NVMe SSDs, because, it needs to read a huge amount of data constantly. Because that's how it works. It's streaming the mesh data in and out of memory from the NVMe SSD. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Helford says that's all right. YouTube can fast forward. That's right, YouTube. If you're sick of hearing me rap it on here, fast forward until you see me working again. Helford says, or worse, they'll file it's a broken fix it 1111 type bug report. Well, that doesn't help anyone. Sniper Girl says, you mean we're supposed to actually beta test and report bugs on beta versions of Unreal Engine 5? Yes, you are. That's right. Who'd have thought? Sniper Girl says to Smurf, well, yeah, that's pretty impressive, Sniper. Sniper Morak, hey Morak, it's good to see you. Sorry, it's taken me a while to catch up with the chat here. Morak says 1 billion polys is in 12.6 gigabytes. Sounds really, really cheap. Hello, Morak, it's good to see you. Smurf says you have to double it because the vertices are 12 gig and the triangles are 12 gig. Okay, so we have our fence pieces done. Coffee. Oh yes, let's do coffee. Why not? So we have our fence pieces done. I don't believe I'm going to need anything else now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the wrought iron to the base, because I'm never going to have a base piece where I don't want a wrought iron piece. Now again, I haven't decided with the gate whether we're going to allow the player to open it up or whether we're going to make the player go around the fence line to find a break so that they can get in to the back section here. I'm just trying to think what would be more interesting from a gameplay perspective. I think if and Hellforge suggested, we could have a locked gate with like a padlock where you have to find a key. Now, yeah, that's a great idea. I don't disagree. We do have a puzzle like that inside the building though to get into the into the master bedroom. The master bedroom has a big gothic-y looking padlock on it that you have to find a key for. as well as it also has a pentagram in front of it that you have to disable before you can get in. So we are using that in the building already. And I was just thinking it might be more interesting for the player if they actually have to sort of like wander around. It also encourages the player to explore a little bit more if they've got to sort of like move around the fence line to find a break. Whereas otherwise you'll get a player that'll run up to the gate, they'll open the gate, they'll go straight through and they won't bother even looking at anything else that might be placed around the outside here. So it encourages the player to explore a bit more. And we put so much work into making the fences, making the gates and all that sort of jazz, so we may as well force the player to look at it, basically, to not just ignore it and run straight through the gate. Murek says, tired, just finished with one model for a freelance job and it's 4 a.m. Man, where are you, Murek? I know Europe it's like probably 2 or 3. A freelance job, nice. And Morek says, and I got work tomorrow. Oh no, you should get some sleep. Pardon me, get some sleep. Smurf says, vertices stored as float 64 and try stored as int 32. Morek says, so might as well stay on Twitch and sleep deprive myself even more. Yay, don't do that, dude. Get some sleep. Helpwood says, great that you finished the project. Yeah, that sucks that it's so late for you. Yes, it is that. But it is good that you got the freelance project done, so that's good. Morek says it's a per model job with endless supplies of models. Okay, but I will ask them to give me a break. That sounds like a cool gig to have. Endless supply of models and it's per model. But come on, we're coming up to Christmas now. You've got to take a break, guys. You don't want to work yourself stupid. Mercury says, actually, that was in gigabits, not gigabytes. Gigabytes would be 3.5 gigabytes per array. Hellboy says, just have the key placed somewhere along the fence that you need to explore anyway. Well, that's an option. You are correct. We could have a lock there, and we could, which will require them to find the key. I have to decide this now because if we decide we're going with the lock and the key thing, I have to make a lock, a padlock, and a key, obviously. But if we decide we're going to go with the break in the fence line, then I have to do something with some of the wrought iron to like bend it. Helpwood says, like having the key hidden in a birdhouse that's on a nearby tree. Then I have to make the birdhouse. This is the problem. I've still got so much other stuff I got to make. Okay, I guess I could ask one of the other guys at the studio to actually do it, to make the model if I wanted to. Sniper Girl says to Morak, wow, 4 a.m, that sucks. It does. That's very late in the morning or early, however you want to think about it. You should get some sleep, dude. You should. Morak says, nice. Do they need help with filling meshes and what types of models? She's asking Morak. Smokery says, ponies all ponies. Sniper Girl says, have some sort of puzzle element to get the key. You guys, these are all great ideas. But the more complex the puzzle, the more work's involved, the longer it's going to take, the more it's going to start affecting the timeline for the game. We have to be really careful. Otherwise the thing will never get finished. Hey, I could work on the thing forever. It wouldn't bother me. I enjoy working on it. It's been a lot of fun, and it is a lot of fun. But I don't know the other guys at the studio feel the same way as I do. But look, they're all great ideas. Helpwood says, don't you have an art intern to make a birdhouse? Look, we do. We have a guy a couple of guys that can do some 3D stuff. Not just me. But I like making everything. I like putting my personal touch on everything. It's because I'm the creative director. I'm on my power trip and I want to do it all. Sniper Echo says the bird we have in the game doesn't even have a house. Well, the bird's dead. The eagle's stuffed in Barrett's study. It doesn't need a house. And we have a bird. Do you remember when we put the bird cage in the study, but we have a bird that's dead in it? It's just a skeleton of this poor bird in this bird cage inside the study. So we do have that bird cage, but I wouldn't want to reuse the same bird cage again. It'd have to be something new. Sniper Echo says, Phil, seriously. Yeah, but the eagle doesn't need a birdhouse because it's stuffed. It's long gone from this world. We killed off the eagle after that cinematic. It's just a stuffed bird now. Smurpery says a bird has absconded with the key and you have to knock the key out of the nest in a tree. Yeah, but how are we going to make it so the player knows that the key is in the nest? Come on, we're spitballing here. So your suggestion is we have a key in a bird nest in a tree. Now, how is the player going to know where the tree is, that there is a key in the bird's nest, and yeah, what the key is supposed to be for, unless they get to the gate first? Morag says, so long story short with me, I'm still working at Chaos Group, now Chaos, supporting our V-Ray customers. It was you that worked for Chaos, yeah, that's really cool. I learned a ton about pipelines and workflows, and I'm writing articles and knowledge base and debugging scenes all day. That sounds like fun. So I'm focusing now towards finally creating something meaningful, and I'm working on the script of a 3D animated series. I'm planning and will soon begin the storyboarding and mood boarding and see where it goes. Well, that sounds really cool. Working at Chaos Group is cool, Chaos, if you want to call it that, whatever they're called now. That's cool. It's really cool. I mean, I love V-Ray. V-Ray, I use it in the Archviz studio. We all do all the time. It's our go-to renderer. So love the V-Ray. An animated series though, that sounds really cool. How's Legmog's animated series coming? I haven't heard him talk about it for a while, because he did so much work and he was really getting into it for a very long time. But every time he's popped into the chat, I keep forgetting to ask him. I must remind me guys, next time Legmog pops in, to ask him how that series is going. Because I'd hate to see him abandon it after putting all that work in that he's done. Sniper Echo says, wow, that got pretty graphic really quick. Elfwood says, kill the eagle, zero freedom. Sniper says, swaying in the wind. I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean about to draw the player's attention to the bird's nest or something? Or Hellpoid says, you keep asking Legmog about how he's dating. I know, because that's all he ever likes to talk about is who he's dating, how many he's dating, how old they are that he's dating. But I keep forgetting to ask him about his animated series, which is actually what he started doing when I started watching him. Sniper Girl says to Hellpoids, did you kill the eagle in a dumpster fire? It does look like a dumpster fire, that emote. Morek says, the Sniper Girl, we need all the artists we can get, but I don't know if the pay will be worth it for people based in the US. Yeah, and again, that's, you know, people that live in certain parts of the world can afford to do the work for a lot less than people that live in other places like the United States or the UK or even Australia, where the cost of living is so expensive. Other people in other parts of the world, the cost of living is a lot lower, so they can afford to work for a lot less. Okay, so we're going to now attach the wrought iron to the base. We've done a revision save, so that's all good. So let's select that, attach, and attach wrought iron. And we'll do the same for this one. Now again, I'm just pointing out for people that are new to watching me, maybe haven't watched before, I'm not using a physically based material here. When we textured this up in Substance Painter, but this one doesn't have the normal map, the metallic or the roughness, so it doesn't look quite right, but once we bring it into the engine, it'll all look pretty. I'm only doing this so I can get the design sorted. That's the only reason I even brought the diffuse texture in, just so I can get the design all worked out. So we have our curved pieces now, and we have our straight pieces, and we have our small column, and we have our large column, and that's really all I think we need to actually create a fence line inside of the game. So, we're going to make sure this is called gate fence wall curved low res. Hang on. So it's these ones over here. We can probably get rid of these now. I just wanted to try and work out a design for the fence line. So now that we have this sorted, I don't really need these ones over here. I might leave them in though, just so I can work out the size of the driveway, the circular drive, when we start bringing that in and working on it. Might be a good idea, but I don't need these pieces over here anymore. So again, we're just going to do a save. So yeah, we're going to have one column that we're then going to instance all the way through. We have the left and the right gate as separate objects because they're not identical with the F and the B. We'll have one urn that we'll instance, and then we'll have one column that we'll instance, and the curved pieces and straight pieces. So I believe our gate should be good. Now, what I might do is I might start exporting these into a separate folder so that when I have to bring them into Unreal, everything is nice and organized for me. Even though we have these saved out before we brought them into Substance Painter, I'm going to save them to a separate folder just for Unreal. So we're going to start here with the, we're going to call this one, I don't need the low res either because I've removed the high res. I'm just going to call this one gate metal post. Let's export selected into our Unreal folder. I might, again, when we were working on the asset, we put it under car gate fence, but I'm going to save out the pieces where we're going to bring into Unreal just under car gate. Now, that'll probably come back to bite me later if I ever make any changes, and I'll be looking under car gate fence and thinking, where did I put that? Yeah. So that was the exports folder we used for Substance Painter. So I'm just going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it UE models. And let's call that car. So a gate metal. No, it's not metal. I can't spell. Gate metal post. Let's do that. Fix the spelling on this one as well. There we go. And then we're going to have the urn. So car gate urn. If I don't do this now, and I'll forget, trust me. So I know it's pretty boring to watch me save out files, but I need to do it. Android Lost says, perks of living in the US. Helpwood says, but I think about all the freedom. Morag says, the Sniper Girl, so I just finished a movie grade model of a Uline tool cart for about $60, and that's before taxes. So yeah, unless you only do that constantly all the time, you might make a buck, but otherwise not worth it for the US people. What's a Uline tool cart? I don't know what that is. Like, I know what a tool cart is. What's Uline? Yeah, that's pretty cheap actually. $60 to make a model, a custom model. Like, if I make stuff that I sell in my stores, because you guys know I have a store on the Creative Market and on Dribble. where I sell my work, and also on my own website I have my own store. That's generally what I sell a model for on my store, but that doesn't give them exclusive rights. I sell it to everybody who wants to buy one. If I was doing a custom model for someone, I'd charge more than that. Sniper Girl says, wow, that's not much at all. No, it's not. Morek says, yeah, for where I live, that's all right. Hellforge. Morek says, so if I get paid by US standard here, I'll be living like a god. Sadly, getting connections to US-based studios and contract jobs is somewhat limited. Well, that's unfortunate and surprising. I would have thought that they'd love to employ you, Morek, if they're a US studio, if your work is, if you can afford to do work that cheaply. Oh, Uline is the brand, Morek says. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I haven't actually linked to the store. I shouldn't I? Help, or just put exclamation store. I should actually set that up as a quick link, like the website link. Yeah, if you go to my website, at the top of my website, there's a button that says store. You click that, that'll take you to my store. And I do recommend, if you want to buy any of my models, if you are watching me, and you're considering buying a model from me, buy it from my store on my website because it's the cheapest. You're going to have to pay more if you're going to buy it from the Creative Market or from Dribbble. By all means, if you feel more comfortable buying through those stores, go right ahead. They're the same models, they're not different, but they're cheaper on my web store, on my website, because those companies take a 30% commission on every sale of my work that is made. So I add that 30% extra on top of what the retail price is on those stores like the Creative Market. So that's why you're paying more on the Creative Market, because I have to build in that 30% commission that they take. Whereas if you buy it on my store, there is no commission, so it's cheaper. Simple as that. Hellforge says, what have you linked to, Hellforge? What's this? Let me have a look. It's Reddit. Ooh, we don't trust Reddit. I actually read Reddit quite a bit. Oh, that's so cute. Microsoft Edge, every time they Microsoft is so pushing you to use Edge, it's just getting insane. Every time they do an update, they say, do you want to switch to Microsoft Edge? Because I use Chrome. That's so cute. That's so cute. I like those little sugar gliders as well. They're super cute with the big eyes. So we've got the urn. Remember to save in coffee. Hang on. What? Morek says, if I get a job from US, I would ask for US standard pay for the job, or just slightly less. Well, that's fair enough. You should. You should. Remember to save in coffee. All right, let's do a save and I'll have a coffee and we'll keep continuing. I am actually saving out is actually what we're doing at the moment, but. Sniper Girl says, you remember Netscape? I do remember Netscape Navigator. Microsoft had a lawsuit against them for doing the same thing and they lost. They don't learn. No, they don't learn, do they? Yeah, I do remember Netscape Navigator. You know, when I first started making a website for the internet, when the internet was new, I used Netscape Navigator to actually browse the web. Well, what was the web back then, which is pretty tame compared to what it is now. Yeah, I remember Netscape Navigator. I do. It's a shame that company went under, because the browser was good for its time. It was good. Yeah, you think Microsoft would learn their lesson, but nope. They're pushing Edge down your throat. You know, Microsoft, stop it. If we want to use Edge, we will use Edge. You just piss people off doing stuff like that. Smurf says Netscape became Oh, did it become Firefox? I thought the company went bankrupt. But again, I can't remember what I switched to after Netscape, because Netscape back in the day was really the only browser. Because I think Microsoft might have had something as well from memory, like Internet Explorer, that might have been around. But I remember using Netscape particularly. Morek says, I like Foxes on fire. I still have Firefox installed. I still use Firefox for, occasionally for other things, but I generally use Chrome most of the time. Not that I like Google. I think Google are evil. They've turned evil. And I don't like Chrome because, look, I use Chrome. It seems to be a bit buggy, the newer versions of Chrome, and it uses so much processor. Like, you open one tab in Chrome, and if you go to Task Manager in Windows, it's open like 6 different versions of Chrome, so God knows what it's doing in the background. It's just insane. That and the software, don't get me started. And their software reporting tool, Chrome, when you install it, has something that the Google run occasionally called Software Reporting Tool. Now, I don't know exactly what they're reporting, but it uses huge amounts of the CPU, and I know when it happens because I can hear the fan on my CPU start to rev up. It's because this software reporting tool from Google Chrome is really hitting the CPU. It's like, yeah. So I actually, every time I do an update to Chrome, because I install a new version of the tool, I physically have to go into this apps folder, which is hidden by default in Windows, and actually find this software reporting tool.exe and stop it from running. Like, I rename it so it can't run because I find it so annoying. So stop that, Google. That's bad. Smurf says Internet Explorer 6. Oh, okay. The bane of the old web. That's because Microsoft tried to do things their own way and didn't stick to standards. That's why people hated Internet Explorer. Sniper Girl says, yeah, sorry, Internet Explorer, my mistake. Still, they did the same thing back then. Microsoft did, yeah. Sniper Girl says, I use Opera. Yeah, I've got Opera installed, not on this machine, but on one of my machines. I can limit how much RAM and CPU it uses. Morek says to Sniper Girl, I heard it's good and you can customize that B as much as you want. And he's asking what your thoughts are. She says she likes it, so there you go. Yeah, I really should look at switching out from Chrome though. Poly. Convert it to a poly. And this one is the, let's call it car left gate. No, let's just call it left gate. No, yes, we'll call it car left gate because I've got other gates in the game. So if we call it car left gate, I'll know which one I mean. Let's export that. So this one's going to be car right gate. So do you enjoy working for Chaos, Morek? Or Chaos, I always think of them as Chaos Group because that's what I know them as, but Chaos, if that's what they're calling themselves now. Do you like working for them? I imagine they're quite good to work for. Again, I haven't worked for them, but... Sniper Girl says to Morek, it has limiters for CPU, GPU. You can log into Instagram without needing to add any additional plugins. Comes with built-in VPN that you can use that works pretty well and also has an ad block as well. Well, I believe that that Firefox has a built-in VPN as well. I don't tend to use their built-in stuff, but I think it does. So I'm just getting distracted with my desk here. Okay. I've got to clean the spot on my desk here. I'll do that after the stream. Morek says, anyway, Phil or anyone, if you get any feedback or feature requests for V-Ray, just let me know. Okay. It's the best place I have worked at. I'm a bit slacking lately and should pick up the pace. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it and that they are good to work for. They do have amazing software. I love V-Ray. I have used V-Ray for years and years and years, and I've always loved it. They've always done an amazing job. It's one of the best renderers I think I've ever used. I know that there are others like Redshift and stuff which are really good, but I really do like V-Ray. And it's fast, which is the other thing I really like about it. Sniper Girl says, I mean, it comes with an ad block pre-installed. Cool. I use AdBlock Origin if I'm doing it using an ad blocker, because it's available for every browser you can imagine. But it's good that it has one built in. Smurf says, is Opera a fork of the old Opera? Because Opera got bought by a Chinese company, so I automatically wouldn't trust it. Did they really? I didn't know that. Oh, Smurf says, is Opera GX a fork? Yeah, I wasn't aware that Opera was bought by a Chinese company. I would be wary as well. Okay, so we don't need that because we're using that. We don't need that because we're using that. So let's get the large post. So let's remove the low res from the end of it and put car gate. No. Yeah, car gate fence post. Yeah, that sounds right. Car gate fence post. Which is different to this one, which is gate metal post. Yeah, good. Okay. Okay, and then this one. Get rid of the low res bit at the end, and this one's gate fence wall curve. Let's call this gate fence. We're going to call it car gate fence. Well, if it's gate fence, we don't need wall. We'll just call it car gate fence curved. Okay. Yeah. Car gate fence curved. Let me just fix that up. Let's export that. And so this one will be car gate fence straight. Well, yeah, we'll call it straight. So that just leaves, now the small columns we will reuse this one, and just scale it down in the engine. So that just leaves a short one here. So this one will be car gate fence. No, it's not a gate fence. Gate post short. Gate post short. Okay, I think we're good. Alrighty, so let's do a save now that we've renamed everything. Actually, I do have I have high-res versions in here. I'm going to delete them. I don't want them in this file. I don't need them. We've already done our bakeouts, so the high-res versions are not required. Let's resave that. Will I resave as a revision? Yeah, let's do that, just to be on the safe side. Because you never know. Okay. Sniper Girl says, I just googled and guessing it is. I haven't heard of any security issues with it. This is Opera. She says, just looked up who actually owns it, assuming the wiki is accurate. Opera is a Norwegian multinational technology company that specializes in web browsers, fintech, yo-yo games, and other services such as Opera News. The company's total user base, including users of its desktop browsers, mobile browsers, and other services, exceeds 380 million monthly active users. Opera's headquarters in Oslo, Norway, with additional offices in Europe, China, and Africa. So it's a multinational company with the main facilities in various areas. The main HQ is in Norway. Helpwood says at least it's not Denmark. And copy while you save. Sniper Girl says, even if it was a Chinese company, I wouldn't care too much, assuming that there's no evidence of them using it for spying. DJI is a Chinese company. There's been government reports, US government reports, that say that China is using it to spy on people. Really? I wasn't aware of that. And yet there's no evidence of this. People have data mined the heck out of it. The software, drone software. Yeah, there's the new Mavic version 3 has just been released as well. New DJI Mavic 3, which looks pretty sweet. I think, because we use Mavics at the Archery Studio, as well as a couple of other drones. But I should get them to actually maybe purchase one of the new Mavic 3s, because it does look really sweet. Because they're good drones and they have good software. I wasn't aware that they were Chinese owned though. That's news to me. Mind you, I've never really looked into it that much. Sniper Girl says it's equal to the Red Scare. Replace Russia with China and that the US government's politics. Yeah, look, Australia is the same. We're having a bit of a spat in Australia with China at the moment as well, a trade thingy. You know what these politicians are like. They've always got to be drumming up fear about something, don't they? Because that's how they get re-elected, basically. Whether it's the Chinese government against the West, or the West against China, or the West against Russia, or whatever. There's always got to be some boogeyman to keep us all occupied and afraid. Morek says everyone is spying on everyone. Can we cut the bullshit and create the Earth conglomerate and start expanding in space already? And pretty much. You're pretty much right. Everyone is spying on everyone else anyway. And they always have, and they probably always will. Oh, now we have a couple of Sniper Girl, Andrew laugh out loud. Sniper Girl says, I'm not saying that the Chinese government doesn't have bad aspects. Yeah, well, they are a communist country, and that's not good. Of course it does. I just don't believe the BS from the government without evidence. Fair enough. You should question everything, particularly when it comes from politicians. It's 100%. She says to Morek, that's 100% true, yeah. No, always question everything. But do remember, China is a communist country and Russia is no longer a communist country but behaves like they are. Mr. Putin and Xi Jinping, I think, from China, are going to be there forever until they die. That's not good. But anyway. That's for them to work out, not for us. Helpwood says, didn't you also say that we shouldn't question? Yes, right, I did say that. Don't question me. I did. You don't question me. Abigail says, I know, like I said, I could take a great deal. I could talk a great deal issues I have with China, but literally take up the entire stream. Let's choose not. Let's not do it. Let's not. Yeah, so I don't know whether we're going to have the gate locked and have to find a key, or have the player move around and try and find an entryway through the fence line. But we can sort of decide on that a little bit later. We don't have to do that right now. Yeah, we might wait till we actually start setting this up in Unreal, and then we can work it out then, because it will just mean reloading this file in Max and making a new asset. I think it's probably going to be a better way to go. So we have a few other things left that we need for the first landscape. We need to create a driveway, and I also need to make some optimizations to the asset that I want to bring in here, which is like a an Art Nouveau entry. So my plan is going to be, you've got this Art Nouveau entry, like 2 doors here at the front. Then we're going to have to create like a long corridor that the player walks down. And then we're going to have that gate, and a copy of that gate down the other end with the 2 doors, which will take you to the landscape where the building is. So I guess we should start working on that now that we've got the gate section done. We'll come back to the drive after we do the main entryway. So again, let's just make sure we're saved here. And let's open up the file that I'm going to be using for the main Deco Nouveau entry. This is a model that I actually have available on my store. Nouveau entry, I think it's this one here. Yeah. Let's just wait for Max to load that in. So it's this model here. I think it would be really cool if the player comes up and has to go through these. There's a reason for this, which I'll explain. So the player comes up, goes through these two doors, which will then lead into like a not a huge long corridor, but a corridor, like a walkway section. And then we're going to have a duplicate of this on the other end of the walkway that they'll go through to get to the landscape where the Nouveau building is. So this is basically going to be a bridge between the first landscape, which we'll call the car landscape, to the second landscape, which is the building landscape, the one you've seen me work on. And the walkway between the two is so that when the player is moving along, we can unload this landscape and load in this landscape. So it's basically like it's going to be used as like a loading section. So unload and load, or if they go back, unload and load. There should not be a reason for them to go back, but just in case. Because once they go through the second landscape main gates, they can't get back out again anyway. But just in the interim, in case the player does decide that they want to go back to the first landscape for some reason, before going to the second gate, it'll load and unload. Morik says, to Health Forge confirmed, Phil is training to be a politician or even work as part of the Illuminati. No, I'm not. I couldn't think of anything worse than being a politician, man. Although they do make me very angry sometimes, some of the politicians. Sniper Girl says to Morik, possibly. Health Forge says, I mean, being an elected official seems pretty sweet. Morality aside, as you get thick stacks of cash for doing F all, while racking up bills for everything on the government account. Well, that's true. They do seem to get paid a lot of money not to do much. Helpwood says, flying first class around the world and have the taxpayers paying for it. Yep. Sniper Girl says, I wouldn't be able to do it. I have a very, very low opinion of politicians in general. I do too, and I don't think I could do it either. Yeah. I mean, I hate what they do, and I hate politicians, because most of them are real scumbags, but yeah, I don't think I could stomach doing it for a living. I'm just not ruthless enough, I guess. Sniper Girl says I wouldn't be able to do it. Morik says to Hellforge, man, I don't want to get started, but we are without a government for almost an entire year already. Oh man. After the past few years in the US, I can understand that, Hellforge says. Sniper Girl says, been bad for longer than that. Take 9/11 for an example, happened in 2001. Wow, was it that long ago? And we found that they lied to get us to invade countries, lied about who was responsible for the attacks, leaked verified documents proved the hijackers came from Saudi Arabia, and they used that to take away freedoms. That's back in 2001. It's only gotten worse since then. Yeah, well, I remember Colin Powell talking about the little vial of chemical weapon that he held up during a press conference, which was part of their reasoning for invading Iraq. Turned out to be all nonsense. Sniper Girl says, and they used the attack to take away freedoms. Yeah, I don't know what's happening in the countries you guys live in, but we've had protests in Melbourne here where I live. Like people have been camping out at Parliament, which is a building in the city where the local state government reside. They've been camping out on the steps of that, protesting vaccination, because the government here are trying to change the law to make it easier for them to lock down the city if they need to. So you have people that are protesting that, saying it's an invasion of freedom. But you've also got these anti-vaxxers in the mix, and a lot of them are real nut jobs, but it is a very fine line. The freedoms that we take for granted can be taken away really easily and really quickly, and then it takes a very long time to get them back again. So while I don't agree with these protesters, these anti-vax idiots, I do understand people being concerned when the government want to take some freedoms away and be given the power to be much more restrictive in what you can do and when you can do it and all that sort of jazz. They're doing it for a good reason. It's to try and stop the spread of, the human malware. And they need the laws in place so that they can enact them in case they need to. So they're not planning on using them, but they want them there in case they need them. Look, I get all of that. But the problem with freedoms is, easy and quick to take them away and then a very long time to get them back. Generally seems to be what happens. Which is why it makes people nervous. So I get where you're coming from, Snapper Girl. Snapper Girl says it's been a corrupt playground for over 2 decades. Elford says our Prime Minister got hit with a vote of no confidence and lost his job. Oh, wow. Yet somehow managed to get his job back and his party stay in power. These are politicians. How do they... And Snapper Girl says a graveyard can be filled with good intentions. Well, that's true. Well, don't they say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions? Isn't that the saying? And that's very true. Now, we do have a bit of a problem with this asset in that the doors, when I made them, you can see they're see-through. And that's not going to be good for us if we want to use it as a loading section between unloading and loading a landscape. If we can see the landscape through the door and it disappears, that's not good. So we're going to have to change the design slightly here, and I think what we're going to end up doing is we'll put like stained glass, some sort of glass panel or something in here that will block the landscape when you're inside the hallway. So that's not a big deal. That's just a plane, but we just have to come up with a design for the glass. But the main issue with this asset is we're going to have to... It uses quite a few different textures. I can't remember if... You see how many textures this thing uses? Because it was not designed to be a game model. So we can't bring it into a game with like... I don't know, how many textures do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20... Like 22 textures. So we're going to have to do some bake downs, I think. Halford says, that's why the road to me is so well travelled. Now the statue we don't have to do anything with. She uses one texture. She's just like a nouveau-y woman. And again, she's just duplicated on the other side. So it's exactly the same, I believe. Yeah, it's exactly the same mesh. So we don't have to worry about retexturing her. And now I believe when I designed this, I separately textured up this side to this side. So we're using 2 different textures. I think I did that so that we had a bit of variation in the look of the asset. We don't have to do that for the game version. We can just duplicate this half to this side. The other thing too is you'll notice that the model is it's one complete asset, and again that's to make it easy for people to buy it, to put it into their renders and use it. But we don't want that. We need to break it up. So we're going to start by separating these pieces so that we can better use it in the game engine. So let's do that. So I'm going to separate pardon me, the curve sections. We're only going to use 1/2 of those curve sections, so I'm going to reselect them. And we'll just, I don't know, it doesn't matter which side we use, but we'll deselect these ones and we'll detach this side. So, in other words, we have a curve section here that we can bring into the game engine. I will actually separate these two up as well. It'll just make it easier for us to reconstruct it inside of Unreal. So we're going to detach that bottom piece. So we have that piece and that piece. Now the columns. We're going to, I believe I can, okay, can't do that with this one. Those are part of that, I believe. Let me double check. Yep, good. I do want to probably attach these two as well. Are they part of the same thing? Hang on. Phil's getting confused. No, that's good. That's good. They're all my phone going on. Probably work. Okay. So we have the top piece. We have the bottom piece, which also has that deco-y bit at the front. Good. So then we're going to need one column. And again, I believe I textured up these columns separately, differently. So we're just going to, hang on, select the column. I believe that's all of the column. I don't think there's anything I'm forgetting. No, good. So let's just attach one of the columns. So we have the top piece, the bottom piece, one column. We don't need that. We'll just reuse the same column. The statue is a separate piece. Let's do the floor. We can probably use that, keep that as all one piece of mesh. So let's detach that. So what does that leave? That leaves the wall section. Now we could, it's the same with these columns here. You'll see that I textured them all up separately so that they were unique. We could separate them and then duplicate them, which might be a better way to go. Andrew Lost says that quite is sad, Sniper Girl. Sniper Girl says, and yet accurate. Morag says, we finally managed to push out our mafia government, but now we can't elect other parties because nobody wants to work with other parties. We had third elections this year, this Sunday, and yet so far looks like we might have finally managed to get a nice party elected. Bad part is that they barely 4.5% of the entire population voted. Oh wow, that's terrible. Only 4.5% of the population voted. Wow. Meanwhile, we're second in the world in COVID deaths as a percentage of infected. Voting in Australia is mandatory. It's against the law not to vote. You can be fined, and if you don't pay your fine, you can go to jail. So you must vote if you're a voting age in Australia. So, you know, everybody votes. I know it's not like that in the US. I don't know what it's like in the UK, whether it's mandatory or not. But in Australia, it certainly is. And voting is really important. If you don't vote, well, then you're not represented, and these people can do whatever they want. And generally, the people who make sure that they vote are the people that you don't want in power. You know, they're not very nice people. They're like big business, or yeah. You don't. It's important to vote. It really, really is. Halford says the UE question. Do you? Unreal question. Do you bake the ambient occlusion in Engine for environment pieces? Or bring that over from Painter Toolbag? Yeah, no, I use the Engine for ambient occlusion. I don't bake it in. I know some people do bake in the ambient occlusion that they get from, let's say, Toolbag or from Painter. I don't. I use the Engine's ambient occlusion because that's what it's for. You shouldn't. Yeah, I was going to say you shouldn't bake the ambient occlusion in if you're doing a game in Unreal. But it really will depend on the look you're going for, I guess. No, I don't bake the ambient occlusion in. I use the real-time ambient occlusion inside of the Unreal Engine. For the game The House on the Hollow, we're actually using ray traced ambient occlusion. So if you have a ray trace capable video card and you're playing the game, it will be using ray traced ambient occlusion. If you're not, then it will just be using screen space ambient occlusion. It's not called screen space. I can't remember what they call the normal ambient occlusion. So long story short, no, I don't bake it in. I use the Engine's ambient occlusion. Morik says to Hellforge, I think the ambient occlusion from Painter is just material based, but the Unreal Engine ambient occlusion bake is scene based, so you get ambient occlusion between geometry and in corners, something more difficult to do in Painter. Yeah, and that's the other reason to use a good reason, as Morik points out, to use ambient occlusion in Engine as opposed to baking it in texture. Because you will get the interaction between all these. So say it's this thing here, you get the interaction between the column and this piece and the edge and the wall, and yeah, so it's better to use it in Engine. I've just noticed you guys, you can't see what's going on, can you? Yeah. Why didn't you guys tell me that my it looks like NDI has frozen. Hang on. You should have told me that you weren't getting an image. I am still streaming, aren't I? Yeah. That's very odd. You should have told me. For some reason, NDI is either not sending the video feed. I honestly didn't realise that Max was frozen. Yeah. Yeah, for some reason, NDI. Hang on. Let me restart NDI. For some reason, NDI does not want to start up on my main machine. Let me check that. Oh, I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'm trying to get the video feed to go over to the second stream machine. I'm going to end NDI and try and start it up again. There we go. Oh guys, sorry about that. Yeah, you see me working away here and you weren't getting the image. This is what we're working on now. My apologies guys, if you're watching me on YouTube, I had no idea that NDI had frozen. I don't know why it froze. Hellport says to Morik, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if it's been ages since I had the engine open. Sniper Girl says, if it was like that in the US, they'd have to lock my ass up because no way would I vote for the politicians, most of them that they have this in this day and age. Morik says, I don't know. After some time, I might have to leave the country for good if things keep going downhill like that. Well, you're in a good line of work to actually get work in another country. 3D people are always needed everywhere, so. So this is the asset we're working on. This is the deco thing I was talking about. This is the door that we need to put glass behind. All the things you didn't see as I was talking because my thing is frozen, my screen is frozen. Morik says, yeah, I thought you were just not doing anything in Max and we're just talking with us. I actually was doing stuff while I was talking to you. Oh man. Just as well I monitor the stream over here. I see OBS is open and I can see myself. It's unusual for NDI to freeze like that. That's the first time it's ever done it on me. Don't know what caused it. Yeah, no, let me just check the event log. I want to see if there's anything showing up here that might have caused the issue. No, everything's clear. Snappy Girl says, Marek, the same companies that donate to the Republicans also donate to the Democrats. Studies show that 3/4 of the decisions that are made in the US by the Senate and the Congress go in favour of those that donate to them. It's the same in this country. They're not unique. Like the Liberal Party here get donations from the big mining companies so that they can dig up more coal and poison the atmosphere and create global warming. Healthwood says, yeah, that's a very different thing from what you worked on a moment ago. Yes, this is what we're working on now. Snappy Girl says to Marek, if 1/4 of the choices are going to be in favour of what people want, why the heck bother voting? Well, if you don't vote, though, it's never going to change. Healthwood says, that kind of reminds me of the newspaper from Superman, that door. It's actually a door in New York. It's modelled on a door in New York. So it is an actual thing in New York. I can't remember what building it's in New York, but it is from New York. Hellboy says Daily Planet or whatever it's called, they have something similar. They probably filmed it in this building in New York when they made the movies. Because yeah, it is an actual physical door in New York, in a building in New York. Sniper Girl says, give me a non-corrupt politician and I'd vote for them. I'm registered. Well, it's important to, if you don't vote, then things will never change. And I know you might think, well, my one vote won't make a difference. Well, if everybody thought that way, well, things will never change, and that's the problem. You've got to think, well, yeah, maybe my one vote won't make a difference, but maybe there's a lot more people that think the same way that I do, and if we all get to vote, if we all go and vote, things will change. You know, you can't complain that you don't like what's going on if you don't take the time to vote, because you're not doing anything to change it. Yeah, it's pointless complaining about it if you don't want to change it, if you do nothing to change it. Anyway. Yeah, I believe that making voting law is actually a good thing, like they do in this country, where you have to vote. Because I know it's not fun. I don't like standing in a line at a voting booth and all that jazz, and half the time I don't like the politicians either. But we're made to do it, and it's an important thing to do anyway, so you should. That's one of the benefits of being an adult and being over 18. You get to change. You get to vote. And you get to drink and do all the other things that adults can do. So it's important to vote. And I know it's not fun. And I know it's, standing in line is not fun. Voting for them, when most of them are just drop kicks, isn't fun either. But it is really important. You got to sleep, Morek? No problem. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. It was good chatting with you. You have a good night's sleep. Sniper Girl says, yeah, but if you're voting for a pile of shit A or a pile of shit B, you're still voting for shit. Yeah, look, I understand what you're saying, but it's still important to vote. Yeah, you have a good night, Morek. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. It was good to see you. Morek says, it's way too late, but I had to chill a bit after dealing with Engons and stuff. Well, it was good to see you, Morek. I'm streaming, you know when I stream, but I'm going on holidays mid-December to mid-January. So maybe we'll see you again before I go on break, and if not, I'll see you in the new year. Good night, Morek. So yeah, this is what we're doing now. What I've done, while you couldn't see what I was doing, this was one complete asset. So I've broken it up into pieces. So we have when I created it, I textured up all of these individually differently so it was more unique. But that uses a lot more texture maps, like I was saying. We have like 22 texture maps here, which is way too many for the game engine. So we're going to optimize it so we can bring it into the game engine. So basically we're going to reuse these pieces for this side. We're going to reuse the one column for all the columns. I've separated up the tiled section here at the front. We'll have that as one mesh, one object. Hey Euro, it's good to see you, buddy. How are you? You're popping in right at the end of the stream. It's good to see you there, Euro. Skylaw, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Phil Does 3D. My apologies if you followed a while ago and I haven't noticed. Skylaw, yes, welcome to Phil Does 3D. I stream every Monday and Tuesday at 5 PM Pacific time, so my schedule never changes. Remember too, if you do want to join the Discord server, feel free. There's a section there you can show off your work in the gallery, because I like looking at the work you guys make. So if you don't join the Discord, go right ahead and either type !Discord in Twitch chat or go to the About Me section on my Twitch channel and look for a panel called Join the Phil Does 3D Discord. That'll give you an invite link. Because only subs can post links in my Twitch chat, but everybody can post in the Discord, so that's the other reason I created it. So yeah, we're going to reuse the column. So yeah, when I originally, it looks like I may have forgotten a piece here. I think I did. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. I think it's just a piece for the base of the column from memory. So I'm just going to detach that. And we're going to select it and select the column so that I can reattach them both together. There we go. So yeah, when I textured the columns up, I made unique textures for each one. We're not going to do that. We're just going to reuse the same column. We're going to reuse the top and the bottom for both sides. That's one mesh. The actual statue here is one mesh, and we're going to duplicate her for the other side. We'll mirror her. So that leaves these columns here in the wall, which we can either leave in or we can separate out and then duplicate up inside of the game engine. How do I want to do it? Let's separate one of them and decide once we start getting into it a little bit more whether we want to this is the most efficient way to separate it and then duplicate it 3 more times. So that's probably what we'll end up doing. But let's detach that column. And then that leaves the doors, and they're separated. So we're actually not going to use 2 doors, we're just going to use one. And we're going to mirror it, flip it. But we do need to put glass behind the door because, as I said, even though you couldn't see what I was doing, we're going to have a walkway that joins this entry. We're going to duplicate that entry down this end, rotate it around, and we're going to have a walkway that joins the two together. And that's so that, like I said, it's like a loading section for unloading this landscape and loading in the new landscape over here. But that does mean that we need to make it so we can't see through the door, because otherwise the landscape will disappear and it'll look weird. And we'll fix that by just putting a sheet of glass in there, and maybe some sort of stained coloured glass might look cool. So the door is separated, the statue is separated. We've got one column, we've got the top and the bottom. We have the tiled section, we have a column that we're going to duplicate, which means I do need to remove these other 3. So that we can duplicate the first one. So that one, this one, and this one. Okay, so let's just attach those. Snappergirl says the only way voting would matter in the US is if they switch to a rank choice voting system where if politician A wouldn't get enough votes, then those votes are transferred to politician B. That way third parties would have a chance of changes would be made. Yura says, I just woke up, what happened? Repo for breakfast, Yura says. I got a new mic arm. Cool. Finally found one that's tall enough to go up over from the back of my monitors. It's glorious not having things just sitting in from the side. Nice. Yeah, my arm actually isn't long enough to go over my monitors. But like I explained, I think I have it like between two monitors, so there's like a gap. So my mic arm comes through that gap. Always nice to get new hardware though. So let me just select this. I'm just going to isolate it so I can make sure I didn't miss anything. No, that looks fine. So actually let's remove these columns from this piece as well, because we don't want them as part of it. So let's just attach that. I'm just looking at what I did behind here. Oh look, and behind as well we also have these columns, so we need to remove them too. And this one. Okay, let's detach that. And again, let's just isolate this piece again so I can make sure I haven't left anything behind like I have just here. Let's detach that. Okay, and I think I was going to say I might separate this section of tile up as well. Yeah, it might be. We have this tile. Oops, this tile is a separate piece. I might attach these two together, I think. So let's select this. And detach. And then we can attach these together, because they're part of the same thing anyway. Okay, let's save this because we haven't done a save since we started working on it. So save as, and we're going to create a new folder. UE4 models. We're going to call this folder called Nouveau Entry, I think. Nouveau Entry. And we're just going to call it Nouveau Entry. Sounds good. How are we going for time? I think we're just about done for time. So I think what we'll do is we'll pick this up again next week. We'll start up doing some optimization work on this asset to get it ready to come into Unreal. But I do want to thank you guys and girls very much for hanging out with me and for watching. My apologies for the screen freezing there and me not knowing for a little while. Euro says, I have my monitors quite high off my desk for better posture as I'm tall, finding an arm that suits as pen and Peter. Copy and save. Well, we did the save. I'll have the copy while I say goodbye. You're quite welcome. You guys and girls have a great weekend. Stay happy, healthy and safe. I'll be back again on Monday next week. We'll pick up where we left off and start continuing on with this Nouveau Entry. You guys have a good weekend though, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys next week. See you guys.